Hello there, and welcome to Weird Music on the Glumburger channel, the strange music show that dives into a different album each and every week. So yes, in today's episode we are finalising the Pride month of episodes with 2 episodes. What? Yeah, that's not how we do things here, and does it really matter? Not really, but yeah, doing things a little bit differently today, essentially. Essentially, I didn't have anything planned from the randomizer for this month, but I did want to cover an LGBTQ plus artist that was requested from one of you. Weirdly enough, on our video for Tokyo Anal Dynamite, user Keith Klein mentioned their favourite releases by the Gerogerigegege, being More Shit EP and Sexual Behaviour in the Human Male. And so when this was actually suggested 4 months ago, I took a listen and started writing about it then. So yeah, it's been a long time getting this episode out, but it's kind of come at a good time basically, because I was a little bit stumped on what to write, what to finish off this month basically of episodes with. So yeah, it's kind of, I'm counting this as like half a requested episode, if that makes any sense, but also not really as well. Hence why you're getting 2 episodes this month, I guess. But I think, yeah, it does help to close off our entire month of Pride-related month of bands and artists with a look at one of the shittest bands ever, right? What a perfect way to end it all. So yes, without further ado, I present More Shit EP by the Gerogerigegege. And so what is More Shit EP? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like, of course. An EP release of even more shit from the Gerogerigegege, Japan's ultra shit band. Here we have roughly 5 minutes of noisy rock excursions that feature 2 very different lineups of the band on either side of the vinyl release. And it results in something very weird within the band's discography, as on one side, it's oddly listenable within the context of the music that the band creates. And on the other side, it's just horrible and uncomfortable noise once more, much akin to the kind of thing that we'd be used to. And with it being so short, I thought, let's forgo the wheel and just discuss this one anyway, right? Why? I don't know, I just felt like it. Now, in fairness to this release, there is a lot of tracks on here though, but with them all being so short, they all just seem to bleed into one another on either side of this record, and from listening to it on YouTube, it's kind of hard for me to tell really what tracks what meant to be what. So with this review, I kind of just reviewed it as a whole thing, basically as a whole 5-minute experience, with a little gap in the middle for the 2 different sides. So yeah, let's dive in, shall we? So, More Shit EP. It opens up with a growing feedback from the guitar, whilst the drum just starts its beat and pushes it all along. And you get a discordance and feedback before the guitar just comes in with a very dirty, chunky riff for the most part, sounding oddly heavy and actually kind of delightful, though very lo-fi as a result of the recording software, or hardware actually. You get some customary screams from Juntaro though, and then the bass comes in, and there is oddly a sense of structure here. It's manic and kind of goes all over the place, with the vocals just becoming more divulged with each iteration that occurs. Just manic and freeform, whilst what you've got is this weird sort of rock and roll structure behind the whole thing. It's bizarre because in the context of the Gerogerigegege, there's a semblance of a structure here. You know, there's something that feels like an actual song for the most part. But even in that context, it's still noisy, nonsensical, and just stupid for the most part. But I can't deny that it kind of grooves as well. It kind of just rocks out, even when the vocals coming through nastily and in an ugly manner. And behind all this, you just get this insistent dirty structure that makes it all fun to listen to, until maybe about 2 minutes in, that first track ends, or however long it is, and you just get the classic Gerogerigegege territory of really short, sporadic songs where they just scream and shout and play for such a brief amount of time, bombarding you with this horrible caustic noise. Its presence is hardly a surprise, right? It's what you'd expect from the band, of course. But there's something almost comical about it when it actually shows up, especially just after that entire first track, which feels like an actual track. Just going right back to guttural growls and screams of frenetic blast just feels really dumb. But it's so short and to the point, and before you know it, it's just all over on this one. But you then flip it to side 2, of course, and this is where we feel like we're in a bit more familiar territory. The guitar's oscillating wildly, against this calamity of drums. But then out of nowhere, though, this riff comes in, and you're kind of wondering where they're going to take it all. As there's this structure of an introduction here, before you then get some odd vocalizations on top of it, and a weird sort of down-tempo moment where, that there threatens esoteric parts here and there, It's weird because this threatens to be enjoyable and fun, which for the Gerogerigegege is something I actually find a little bit daunting, because they're no doubt going to end up doing something really weird and fucky. And on this one, comes in the form of a count, recalling the absurdity of Tokyo Anal Dynamite, where they just go 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, like that with all their instruments just playing, only very briefly before some silence lets Juntaro scream and you get that weird start and stopping style of short blasts of discordant screaming songs essentially that come in and out of the silence. It's so weird because I find myself so confused and baffled by the experience, unable to make any tangible sense of the occurrences happening here, and just along for the very brief ride of absurdist humour in the form of overwhelming noisy music. And then when you think it's all just ended, because you get a little bit more short stops on here, it also seems to come back for a brief short musical number to bring the whole thing to a close. A surprise that comes out of nowhere on an album that feels like it's barely lasted any time at all. One tiny little brief moment of manic noise just to throw us all off centre once again. Because why not? Because this is what you can do with your music if you so want to. So yes, an incredibly, absurdly weird album from, Japan's ultra shit band here. But this short EP really packs a punch in the 5 or so minutes that it occurs for, though. Like, the first half does feature an oddly structured rock number, sounding very dirty and lo-fi, very poorly recorded of course, but weirdly enjoyable in the confines of what the band does. And it's fascinating to me because there does feel to be very two distinct sides to this short EP release. On one hand, you've got this weird sort of noisy rock excursion that actually does arguably play a tune or two, as well as some just, noisy excursions. And on the other side, you just have that sort of manic de-evolution of angry thrashing noise. It's of course down to those two different lineups for the band, resulting in something connected by the very presentation, but both sonically different to each other in a bunch of ways. And then also similar in some other ways as well. And I think there's something really neat about that though, with the record's first half being very enjoyable, even though it's also incredibly noisy and nonsensical. Dare I say, the fact there's actually some tunes being played. I mean, in fact, it's not completely unexpected from the band. They have opted for more traditional song structures here and there where it sees them fit, of course. But here it's a bit of a weird surprise on that first half. Left field for them because of how much it almost is trying to sound normal. It still does have all their sort of weird manic frenetic aesthetic, pure nonsense in the form of screaming and shouting and raving, essentially. And some pure blast of noise here and there, of course. But it seems to really contrast with the record's second half, where we're getting all that horrible noise that we're so used to by the band. It makes for a very weird record in a lot of respects. Something I'd say captures the classic aesthetic of what the Gerogerigegege do with their music. Essentially never playing by the rules, and doing whatever the hell you want to do with your audience. And when it comes to these physical releases, there's always a bunch of little tricks here and there, of course. This one surprises me by how normal it starts, before contrasting it all with that deluge of overwhelming noise. It makes for an oddly brilliant release within the discography of the Gerogerigegege, and I can definitely see why this one was mentioned, and why it's a favourite of the commenter, of course. It's perhaps one of the most briefest experiences we've tried to review on this channel, being even shorter than Piss Drinkers' 34,400 litres of piss. But I guess the point of releases like this is just packing in a sonic overwhelming punch for a few brief moments that just batters you over the head into a state of delirious confusion. But weirdly enough, I think it's one of the stronger releases from the Gerogerigegege. So bear with me here, but it's weird, but I think at the end of the day, this album, it is just technically nonsensical noise. It's what they do. It's what we expect from them, of course. But it interests me because so many of their albums just end up being these awful listening experiences that it's because of that, something like this ends up being very oddly enjoyable in context of what they make. Like, the more I sift through their discography, the more I find in equal measure just adoring and loathing the music that I'm experiencing. And something like this, the More Shit EP, encompasses everything that's both good and bad about the Gerogerigegege. Like, it's awful sounding music, but you can't help but feel a little bit elated by this one, especially if you're a fan of the band. Like, it comes across as an actual song in the first half. It's like this first track being so arguably competent, sort of. But it still features typical screams and discordance though, like still very atypical of what they do. But especially thanks to that driving bass line though, it's so much easier to listen to than so much we've already reviewed on this channel by then. But then, just to subvert any and all expectations one would even dare to have have when experiencing the Gerogerigegege, it's all just bastardized noise on the second half in the form of those sonic bursts of noise. And at the end of the day, it's exactly what it says on the tin. More shit. I think it's brilliant for that. And so yeah, I think with that, we'll come to the end of our episode of Weird Music though. A very brief little dive into the Gerogerigegege. Why? Because their music's fucking weird, of course, isn't it? And like, when this one was first mentioned by Keith Klein, I thought it'd be fun to dive into an album that's like nearly 5 minutes long. To be fair, actually a pretty good excursion from the band. Brief, so you don't get too overwhelmed and you don't have to endure it for like an hour long, but yet a perfect little dive to their loud, crazy, nonsensical sounds, of course. Truly brilliant, and I'm glad to have covered this one on the show, like a nice way to sort of end the Pride month of June with a look at a really shit album, essentially. But it's hence why we've also done the bonus episode as well, like just to give us a little bit more to really try celebrate Pride this month. So yeah, if you've made it this far, I hope you've enjoyed this very dumb episode of Weird Music. I will try to dive into a proper album by the Gerogerigegege at some point. Which one? No idea. We will see though. In any case, I wish you all the best. Take care. And bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.